1449, the Committing Leases for Energy Access Now Act, which places harsh deadlines on geothermal energy permitting that would restrict public input and rush environmental review. I'm really encouraged that we now have bipartisan interest in accelerating the development of geothermal energy in the U.S., and I sincerely hope that this bipartisanship can be carried through to develop reforms to expedite the development and deployment of geothermal and other clean energy sources. However, like many of the so-called reforms that have been advanced by House Republicans over the past month, this bill offers only a blunt remedy to what is a very challenging and technical problem. Putting a 30-day limit on project reviews doesn't really solve any of the core issues with the geothermal permitting process. These applications are lengthy and complicated and therefore require review proportionate to their complexity. There are many proposed solutions to make this process easier for both developers and the Department of the Interior, but just creating an arbitrary review deadline without addressing any of the other problems is not a real solution. Like with the FAFSA bill last week and countless bills we've seen put forward by our Republican colleagues this Congress, we see the same strategy. Instead of supporting legislation to make federal agencies work better or faster or be more accountable to the people they're designed to serve, House Republicans use the government's failings as an excuse to further undermine the government's capacity to do its job. This political strategy and the bills that have followed are both unwise and disingenuous and only worsen the problems they claim to solve. We're also going to consider the failed suspension bill from last week, H.R. 9495, the Stop Terror Financing and Tax Penalties on American Hostages Act. Now, this bill does two things. First, it would stop the IRS from imposing fines and penalties on American hostages for late tax payments while they're being held in captivity. We should all support that. But that piece of this bill already passed the Senate, and that's what we should be voting on today, the Senate bill. In fact, a House member already introduced the bill to do it, H.R. 7791, the Stop Penalties on American Hostages Act. Why not bring that to the floor for a vote and send it to the president's desk right away? Instead, Republicans are trying to generate controversy where there is none by tacking on another piece of another bill, which would grant the President of the United States the authority to strip a nonprofit of its tax-exempt status if the government finds that the nonprofit is a, quote, terror-supporting organization. Treasury can do this without presenting any evidence, without any hearing, and without any meaningful right of appeal. Now, we all oppose terrorism, and organizations that actually materially support terrorism should not enjoy tax-exempt status, but that's not what this bill is about. This bill gives the president, any president, a broad authority to target and silence civil society groups that a president doesn't agree with. And then those groups have no meaningful way to challenge that determination. It's really rich to see Republicans line up behind this bill when not that long ago, they were all up in arms over allegations, which were later proven to be false, that the Obama administration's IRS had allegedly targeted conservative nonprofits. So this is just taking it to another level. Regardless of one's party affiliation, we should all be wary of giving any president an authority like the one that is proposed in this bill. It's an authority ripe for abuse. The definitions are too vague, and its due process is lacking. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce into the record this letter from over 150 civil society organizations, including organizations like the American Friends Service Center, the American Library Association, the League of Conservation Voters, the Methodist Church. These 150 civil society organizations have sent this letter to the House of Representatives urging opposition to H.R. 9495.